Okay, got it. All right. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. We're going to go ahead and get started. And just so you all know, thank you for coming to directly to the Georgia Cyber Center. For those of you who were able to get down here and beat the parade or avoid the parade. And we have about 207 folks online. So we are a big group. We're really excited to do this today. If you don't know who I am, I'm Mickey Williford. I'm the Vice President for Institutional Effectiveness. And I'm also the project lead for developing our new 5-year strategic plan. And I think I can speak. This is a dangerous thing to do, but I think I can speak for President Keel, Provost McKinnon, and Dr. Keen when I say that today is a day that we've all been waiting for a very long time, and we've really been looking forward to it. I'll share in a bit. Hundreds of people have already been involved in creating this plan. And so we know that I'm excited to know that we're adding hundreds of new perspectives to all of this work today. And we're very eager to receive all of that feedback as we near finalization. Whether you're here in person or online, I encourage you to follow along with a handout that you either received if you're here or that you were able to access using the QR code on the slide before we got started. We'll be referencing that a few times throughout today. And then also it'll come in handy towards the end when we give you some information about how you can continue to provide feedback even after the town hall has ended. But we can't dive into a discussion about the university's future without hearing from our leader. So to help us get started, I'd like to ask President Keel to share a few words about what he envisions for AU over the next 5 years.
Well, good afternoon. Wow, that's loud. I love it when it's loud. Thank y'all so much for being here in person, and thank you very much for being here virtually to attend the rollout of the strategic plan. And like Mickey said, this is really a day we've all been waiting for. In fact, it's such an incredible opportunity for us that the entire city of Augusta had a parade, and I benefit. Some of you probably got held up by that parade, but at any rate, I think that just highlights the excitement that we have here. But I do have something to admit to you, and some of you have already heard me say this, but it really is the truth. I have always felt that strategic planning was a huge waste of time. And I have been at 4 institutions since I started my career, major institutions, and I've been through a strategic planning process at each one of those institutions. And I can tell you that every single one of those strategic plans you could have taken off the shelf and substituted one institution name for the other, put it back on the shelf, and it would have been exactly like all the other strategic plans that I've seen at those 4 institutions and all the other strategic plans that I've seen everywhere else. It's all about a mission and a vision and strategies and tactics, and then nobody cares. And I felt that way my entire career until now. And I really, really am sincere about that. I can't tell you how exciting it is to be at an institution that not only takes strategic planning process seriously, which you should, of course, but to do it in such a way that is really going to help us make a difference in the lives of the students that we educate, and the difference in the lives of the patients that we treat. I've said all along, we have to do something that sets us apart from all the other universities in this great state and indeed in this country. We're competing with 25 other campuses that all have great programs and great educational opportunities, but we are different. We are unique. We are the only university in the entire state of Georgia, a university system of Georgia, that has as its very mission to be designated as the only health sciences medical university in the state. And although that's not all we focus on, it gives us a chance to do something very unique. It gives us a chance to interweave innovation and creativity and do it in such a way that sets us apart from all the other universities, where we can truly have a university like no other. And that's what I ask our leaders to do with this particular strategic plan. How can we do something that's different from all the other boring as all get out strategic plans that I've seen? And they have come up with a masterpiece. And I'm really, really excited to have them tell you about this, because this is not just something that these folks that you see here have done. It's all of you have had input into this, and all of the folks that are watching in the entire university that helped us put together this opportunity. So this to me is not just a strategic plan. It is a strategic opportunity, and it's an opportunity to move us as a university and to move us as an institution in ways that nobody else can, because they don't have the stuff that makes up our very DNA. So I'm excited to be here with you today. I can't wait to have them talk to you about this. We want your input into this as we move ahead. We want you to go away feeling like this is your strategic opportunity, not mine, not these folks, and not the universities. This needs to be your strategic plan. And I hope when you get through hearing what we have for you today, you'll come away feeling that ownership, that pride, and what an incredible opportunity to be part of something that is truly going to be special and truly like no other. So, Vicki, thank you very much for all the great work. There's so many folks to thank. This is not something that you can just pull out of a hat overnight, and I know that. And I can't thank you enough. But I look forward to seeing what you have to say, and appreciate everybody being here. Go Jags!
Thank you so much, Dr. Keel. We really appreciate that. And we are determined that for the rest of your career that you become the number one fan in higher education of strategic planning. We're going to make it so. All right. So as I said earlier today, really the objective today is sharing what we've developed so far. You'll learn more about who all has been involved in that in just a bit. And more than anything, to hear your feedback, both for those of you in the room as well as those online. So that is where we'll be spending most of our time, and that discussion will be led by our co-sponsors, Drs. McKinnon and Keen. But before we do that, I do want to share a little bit about the process for how we've gotten here. And the process really begins with the people. Our leaders through this process are known to you and have already been introduced, but we've not only been led by President Keel and Drs. McKinnon and Keen, but the entire President's executive cabinet. Many of them are here today, actually. And this group of leaders have provided tremendous guidance for our core team and been very supportive cheerleaders for the process of getting to the plan, as well as how the plan has been developing over time among both our internal and external stakeholders. I think they'll all agree with me, though, that none of our success on this project would be known without our day-to-day, behind the scenes, she's trying to hide from me, ringleader, Brittany Cipollone. She's right over here, typing away. And it's fitting that in my notes I said I won't embarrass her by asking you to give her a round of applause, but you all knew and didn't even need me to secretly cue you up to do that. So thank you, Brittany, for all that you've done to get us to this point. So thank goodness for her, and thank goodness for this group here. This is our core team. So our core team was composed of co-champions for each of the strategic and interwoven priorities. Those have been introduced to you before, but we're going to remind you of what they are in just a bit. And although they're a little bit clear from the slide, aren't they? As well as champions from our key constituencies. So for our learning strategic priority, we have Zach Kelly here and Ray Whiting. For discovery, Michael Diamond and Scott Thorpe. For student success, Susan Davies and Pam Witter. For stewardship, Eileen Brandon and Carrie Wilson. And for community, Cedric Johnson and Suzanne Tatum. With our interwoven priorities, they have been championed by Chris McKinney and Michael Schaffer for innovation. For engagement, Tina Baggett and Catherine Martin. And for diversity, equity, and inclusion, Garrett Green and Tiffany Townsend. And representing our people, for faculty senate, Peter Basciano. For staff council, Tiffany Smith. For our undergraduate group, student or SGA with Dee Mallory. And for our graduate students, Chase McIntosh and Megna Reddy did a bit of a relay. Megna was gracious to step in when Chase's course schedule wouldn't allow him to continue to be involved. And so we've been grateful for excellent engagement throughout the process from everybody. But I have to say, I think all of us would agree on the core team that we have been most heartened by the level of engagement we've gotten from the students. We've been really pleased and an honor to be able to share the team with them. So this entire group, we have worked really hard during what I think we all would agree is already a very busy time in the life of the university. Seems to have gotten a lot busier since January 19th, 2021. I'm not sure what happened. I don't know what happened that day, but something happened that day that made it to really seem to pick us up. We've been meeting several times a month since we kicked off in September. But most importantly, the core team in particular has really spent a lot of time meeting with students, faculty and staff, and community members, or reading the comments that we've been getting through some of the online forums that we've had out there to ensure that the plan ultimately reflects the variety of perspectives, ideas, and experiences of our university. So for those of you who have been following the process, you probably already know that we began almost a year ago, and it started with an environmental scan, followed by some engagement with a broad representation of stakeholders last summer and fall. Some examples of some of the internal stakeholders who have been engaged, in addition to our shared governance groups, the Senate and Staff Council, and our SGAs. We've also engaged academic leaders through our academic leadership meeting that occurs in the spring and the fall. Our Council of Equity leaders, that is led by Dr. Townsend. Research directors during a retreat last fall. Staff council members, and some examples of external stakeholders have included leaders throughout the state and region, from Augusta all the way to North Augusta and everywhere sort of surrounding there, not to mention AU Foundation trustees, and of course, AU alumni, very, very important. So please know that today's draft is reflective of the input that we've been receiving as we near finalization. So as we shared today, I'm not doing my job here. So as we shared today, our objective today is to share what the core team has developed so far and to seek your input. But we're going to have time to collect comments even after the town hall is over. And I'll tell you more about how you can do that when we get to the end. So many of you remember that Dr. McKinnon first shared part of the strategic plan at the fall kickoff. And August feels like such a long time ago in this room. Exactly. And it was your first kickoff. And that was a pretty big news to be able to share with the institution. But at that time, he revealed that the initial stakeholder input that we did last spring did result in 5 strategic priorities for learning, discovery, student success, community, and stewardship. And of course, the interwoven priorities of innovation, engagement, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. So while these are the main focal points of the strategic plan that are going to help us, what they're designed to do is help us reach some aspirational imperatives that you'll find on the handout that you have for reaching 16 by 30, 60 by 30. Everybody knows what those are, and reaching classification for Carnegie community engagement by 2026. So let's start to get to the fun part, right? This is what we're here for. So it is time to review the draft and to start to receive your feedback. I do have to share a little bit of housekeeping before we start. First of all, the plan will ultimately be composed of 3 major sections. There are the strategic priorities, and for each of those priorities, there will be distinguishing objectives and strategic actions. Given the time we have today, we're only going to go over the distinguishing objectives. What we're going to do is, after the town hall, we will post online an expanded version of this very PowerPoint that we're sharing that will include the strategic actions. That will give everybody an opportunity to see what those are, and through an online form offer their feedback on those, and so that we can continue to do that. And we'll have about a week of that forum open for folks, and so that we can have received that feedback in time for a core team meeting next week. So one more piece of housekeeping is that once we get, in just a bit, Dr. McKinnon and Keen are going to go through each of those strategic priorities, and then they'll do that very quickly. Well, not too quickly. We need to make sure folks can hear you. So, but once we do that, and then we'll open up for about 10 minutes of comments. For those of you in the room, there are microphones on either side. Please keep your comments brief and deference for others who want to share comments, by all means. If you are not able to get to the microphones, we understand that. So just raise your hand. And we've got Holly Goodson-Rubio down here, and she's prepared to come to you with a microphone. And for those of you online, We want to hear your comments. We're monitoring those. So Aubrey Hinkson is monitoring those, and she'll jump into the conversation and share those as much as she can. But know that because of the fact that during that online forum, you're able to do that a lot more quickly than we're able to receive those comments in the room. So if we can't get to everything, they're being recorded, and your comments will make its way to the core team so that we can make sure that we know about those as we finalize the plan. All right. So I'm ready to give up the mic, but there's one more thing I have to do. So let's make sure that we understand what the relationship is of the interwoven priorities. They really are intended to be interwoven throughout all of the strategic priorities. And so as you're listening to what they have to share for the strategic priorities, we want you to be thinking about the framing language that's related, that has been identified for these interwoven priorities, and assess whether or not you really think these things are being truly interwoven and throughout the plan. So for innovation, Augusta University is grounded in but not tethered by tradition, and well prepared to embrace change in academic programming, campus life, enrollment growth, community relationships, and beyond. Engagement. As Augusta University's fields, colleges, and campuses coalesce further into a cohesive community and a coherent university, the staff, faculty, administrators, and students of Augusta University move intentionally toward greater stewardship of shared resources and values, and a stronger sense of citizenship and belonging. And diversity, equity, and inclusion. A multifaceted, interdisciplinary mission to make all people's lives better begins with building a learning community that is diverse, equitable, and inclusive, and reflective of the world we wish to serve. That is enough of me for a little bit. Let's hear from our co-sponsors, and I'm going to pass it to Dr. McKinnon, who will go through the first 3 strategic priorities.
All right. Well, thank you, Mickey, for the kickoff. And man, this is exciting. I don't know if you feel as excited as I am. Maybe Russell and I are a bit biased, but given the work that's led up to this over the past year, what a key moment in the life of a university, right? Something that we don't do every day, ideally probably every 5 years. So this should serve us well. And to do it on St. Patrick's Day with the parade, as the president mentioned, is pretty cool as well. So I'm going to walk us through our first 3 strategic priorities. And I'm going to break a rule here that for those of you that are faculty, a key rule is you don't read off PowerPoint slides. The reason I'm going to do that is because here the wording is very intentional, very precise. I know the co-champions wrestled over exact words. And so I will be reading the slides, but then also adding a bit of commentary before we open it up for questions. All right. So we've got the first one again, which is learning. So what does that mean? What's the strategic priority? At Augusta University, a commitment to effective teaching and to engaged learning is our long-held mission, supported with an openness to ever-changing methods, fresh courses, modern facilities, evolving degree programs, and innovative collaborations, plus hands-on, real-world, wholehearted instruction that expands impact and access and creates an educational experience like no other. And again, as Mickey mentioned before, both Zach and Ray are here, which were really our co-champions for the strategic priority. As Mickey also mentioned, for each of our strategic priorities, we have distinguishing objectives. So I'm going to read that now as well. So the first of the 3 for learning is forward-looking education. Forward-looking education. Whether it's the array of programs we offer or the diverse modalities by which we offer them, Augusta University is committed to an educational experience that fulfills the dynamic needs of our students in the communities they represent. We will leverage our strengths as the state of Georgia's health, sciences, and medical university to create transformative education where every student who earns an Augusta University credential is ready to demonstrate both the competencies universal to all professions and the skills unique to their chosen disciplines. And just a little bit of commentary on this. Certainly you'll see this when you see the strategic actions, this phrase, eradicate the notion of traditional. I love that, eradicate the notion of traditional. We don't want to do traditional learning. We want to eradicate that. It certainly, as you see on the slide, it fulfills the needs of our students, meeting them where they are. And you'll see an initiative about launching Augusta University Online as part of that, and also meeting the needs of our communities. The fact that we want to train Georgia's next leaders. Next slide, please. The second distinguishing objective is impactful learning experiences. Preparing students means fostering practices of learning and teaching that complement traditional instruction. We are committed to providing high-impact learning experiences that support students' aspirations. We will cultivate connections across our many communities to create both curricular and co-curricular opportunities for students at all levels and in all years of their educational journey to develop the essential skills vital to success during their time at AU and in their post-graduation endeavors. And when we talk about those high-impact practices, really we're talking about those aha moments in the lives of our students, right? When things really click, they're challenged in new and exciting ways. And as part of that, also, we want to cultivate and incentivize our faculty also related to teaching innovation. And finally, the third and last distinguishing objective under learning, inclusive instructional culture. Our institutional values of collegiality, compassion, excellence, inclusivity, integrity, and leadership both anchor and embolden our teaching mission. Our responsibility is to prepare students for a life as responsive contributors to society. We are committed to fostering students' sense of belonging and engagement, and we support their aptitude for collaboration with individuals across diverse backgrounds. And the last thing I want to say, kind of related to this, last week, actually, Dr. Susan Davies and I did our first of two focus groups. This one was with graduating seniors. These are undergrads that are going to graduate in May. And hearing from them, kind of what was it that got them through to the finish line of graduation? And overwhelmingly, we heard it was really students that felt that sense of belonging, right? The fact that those students that were truly engaged in different student groups, they're the ones who made it through. And so we need to do all we can to make sure all of our students find the same success. So with that, that's learning. So I guess we'll open up at this point. Again, if you're in this room, feel free to go one of the mics or wave to Holly. If you're online, Aubrey will be monitoring your comments. So feel free to comment anything, something that you think we've missed, something that perhaps you differ with. Really, we're open to any and all input. Or if it's perfect, you can say that as well. Sure, Zach and Ray will really appreciate that.
I think the online folks think it's perfect. We've not received any questions. And that was confirmed. Someone just wrote perfect.
Well, yeah. So if somebody confirmed, it must be true. So that's good. But hey, I know I threw a lot at you. For most of you, it's the first time you're seeing this. I think the good part is Mickey said we also have opportunities if to respond afterwards with the website as well. That'll be shared at the end of today's session.
We did get one question from Dr. Cook. What ideas do you have for incentivizing faculty?
Okay. And just to clarify too, is like questions like that, today's not the point where we're going to be, but I think that's something important that we'll want to include. Because you're right, that was clearly, as you'll see, the strategic actions incentivizing a faculty to teach in new ways was clearly, you'll see that in strategic action. So we'll need to think about for each of the things that we're doing, what are the resources to accomplish that? So that's a great question.
We have a comment from Dr. Kisting. Should responsive be responsible in the phrase preparing students for life as responsive contributors to society?
Okay, so a potential wording change. Okay, so we've got that captured.
And then a question about the first distinguishing objective. How would we eradicate traditional learning compared to complementing traditional learning? Seems like a conflict.
That's right. Okay. Great. All right, last call for comments, suggestions. All right. Well, if that's it, then we'll move on to the next one, which is discovery. Discovery. And so for those that aren't in the room, we have Scott Thorpe and Michael Diamond sitting over here that were the co-champions for this strategic priority. So just in the past, I'll walk us through these. At Augusta University, research takes prominence by taking place everywhere and among everyone, in wet labs and in archives, with senior investigators and sophomore classes. Our research works to expand knowledge, express ideas, enhance teaching, cure cancer, prevent cyber attacks, and more. And so just like learning, we have three distinguishing objectives, the first of which is interdisciplinary and collaborative discovery. Interdisciplinary and collaborative discovery. Augusta University is a research university like no other. We will leverage our distinctiveness by establishing ourselves as a hub for collaborative and interdisciplinary research within AU and across the region. Through innovative initiatives for recruiting, retaining, and developing researchers, we will increase research funding across all disciplines while pursuing our goal of being among the top 60 NIH-funded medical schools by 2030. So just a few points of commentary related to that. Of course, this past year, we funded our first interdisciplinary research cluster, TRIBA, across 6 different colleges that will fund, with President Keel's funding, up to 15 to 20 new faculty, new researchers. Earlier this year, we announced the creation of a Center for Immunology, which also is interdisciplinary by nature and a nice connection with both TRIBA and our Cancer Center. And certainly, I think the goal is to continue to create initiatives like that are truly interdisciplinary and transformative at the same time. All right, moving on then to our second distinguishing objective, creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurialism. Realizing our research aspirations means extending our already strong legacy of healthcare and biomedical research and increasing the productivity of research, scholarship, and creativity across our diverse disciplines. But we won't be satisfied with just more research. Our institutional value of excellence will be exemplified in the quality and impact of our discovery output. We are committed to infusing a culture of creativity, innovation, entrepreneurialism throughout all of our colleges and schools. And so everything from our Innovate program, which Scott Thorpe kind of leads, and getting our students involved in creative solutions around a problem. This also involves things like our makerspace on this campus, that's here at the Georgia Cyber Center, and involving organizations like AURI, trying to increase the number of patents and such as well. So again, different activities around this distinguishing objective. So with that, let's move to our third and final distinguishing objective for discovery, infrastructure for discovery excellence. We recognize that discovery is born from inspiration, which itself yields from an institutional environment that inspires. We will reduce the physical limitations and the administrative burdens that distract researchers from the creative process that leads to discovery. Exceptional spaces, cutting-edge resources, and supportive processes that minimize burdensome distractions from the conduct of discovery are critical to this journey. And we're actually currently, a bit of commentary, this one, we're currently as a university looking at our research space, our research facilities. We've engaged a consulting firm, and we're getting closer to the finish line, having kind of a 10-year plan of what our facilities will look like. And of course, we're also trying to reduce those administrative burdens. I think those are incredibly frustrating to researchers if we have too many barriers to submitting both pre-award and also post-award. And some of those themes actually came from this very room last fall, as Mickey mentioned, where we had 2 one-day retreats bringing together researchers from across the campus looking at the topic of discovery. So with that, I'm going to then open up again. Folks in the room, feel free to use a mic. Feel free to wave your hand at Holly, or those online, Aubrey will pick up your comments. Okay. And Almira, let's get Holly, because then folks online can hear your question too. Got two mics. Yeah, you're in business.
All right, now I speak softly. On the first objective, if you can bring it up, I was a little bit confused about the wording there. The goal is interdisciplinary and collaborative discovery, yet the goal is to be among the top NIH-funded medical schools. Isn't there a little bit of a contradiction there?
All right. So the fact that we want to cut research across colleges and increase that, but also kind of focus on one school at the same time. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we'll ask certainly our co-champions to take another look at that. That's a great comment. Thank you.
I think that's an excellent point by Almira. So I think one of the ways perhaps to do that is to promote interaction between different campuses, because obviously our medical school, I mean, is the main research input at the moment. For example, increasing interactions with the cyber center for bioinformatics or large data analysis could be a way to improve that overall the campuses, and I think that could be a way to do that.
That's great. Okay. Yeah, thank you for that suggestion. Aubrey, anything online?
We have received a lot of good feedback online. So when considering diversity, equity, inclusion, are we looking at data integrity? Where do we see research support staff in this picture? There is little NIH funding in the College of Science and Math. How do we see that working out? Which is very similar to the questions you all brought up. What ideas do you suggest to improve interdisciplinary collaboration and interdisciplinary research opportunities to merge the entities of the academic university and academic health center / hospital? Can faculty of disciplines not directly related to the medical sciences or cyber center expect to be treated in the same way? And lastly, is breaking down college and departmental walls part of infrastructure improvement and promoting collaboration?
Right. All right. Well, was that all for one person, Aubrey, or is that several?
That was several.
Okay. I was gonna say, man, that person should get an award for all the feedback. Hey, those are great. So again, all the questions, all the feedback we'll be taking back to the co-champions and seeing how we can interweave those things into the plan as well. Got a question over in this side of the room.
So Mickey made me get up, so I'm going to get up. Can you go to the last objective? The infrastructure for discovery and excellence. And so I want to point out the language. We will reduce the physical limitations and administrative burdens that distract researchers from the creative process that leads to discovery. I would like in the learning objective to see more language like that will reduce physical limitation and administrative burdens for instructional faculty. And I can't remember if I saw that kind of language in the learning objectives.
Thank you for that, Dean Perla. I don't think it was in there, but yeah, certainly your point's well taken. That could be applied to all of our activities, not just research. Yeah.
We've received a few more comments online. This first one is really about just as an institution being receptive to external opportunities and not prescribing them from top down. And they gave two examples, including the recent recruitment of a top director of the Immunology Center, and basically looking outside to thought leaders and being opening and having our doors open to that. The question of, does space management include teleworking? And lastly, in discovery and the third distinguishing objective, are we hinting at possible sabbaticals And if not, when will we address this issue, keeping us from recruiting the best faculty?
Fantastic. Thank you. I haven't got my 2-minute warning yet, so we're still okay with time. Just any more questions or comments? And again, everything that's been said today will be taken back to the co-champions so we update this for our final draft.
We have another comment. Can we bold the phrase being expressed in the positive? We will enhance physical resources and administrative flexibility to free researchers to pursue the creative process that leads to discovery.
All right, well, let's move on then to my 3 of 3, and then I'll turn it over to my colleague and friend, Dr. Keen, to walk us through the last 2. And this is student success. And again, I see Susan's here today. Susan, along with Pam, we're the co-champions for this. So again, I'll read this as with the others. At Augusta University, we are committed to the ambitious enrollment growth and dedicated to channeling unprecedented resources, resolve, programming, and processes into the extraordinary growth of each of our students, intellectually and culturally, critically and creatively, professionally and personally, individually and relationally. So the first of our 3 distinguishing objectives is educational access and value. Educational access and value. Augusta University is passionate about providing a personalized, high-quality academic and co-curricular student experience to propel our students towards their academic and professional aspirations. We are committed to enhancing all students' access to enveloping value of a life-changing, life-saving Augusta University education by ensuring affordability and financial support. So a few things just to kind of add to that. Certainly, when we talk about increasing access, it's also increasing access to more students, and we still have that goal of 16,000 students by 2030. We also recognize that often the barriers to access are financial, and again, Dr. Keen will talk a little bit more on stewardship about some strategies to deal with that. And then part of this as well is just making sure our students are successful all the way to the point of graduation. And about a month ago, for our spring academic leadership meeting, we focused on that sole topic of student progression. And of course, the one sobering stat is, we lose about 30% of our first-time freshman students after the first year. And so doing better on that, ensuring access again all the way through to commencement. Moving to our second distinguishing objective, student-centered environment. Student-centered environment. Providing students with a supportive and productive environment is critical to their success and engagement and integral to the promotion of Augusta University's values. We will design student-centered environments that reflect a first-choice research university that provides a small-scale college experience. So how will we do that? Well, currently, as many of you know, we are in the midst of developing for the first time a strategic enrollment management plan that, for example, looks at things like dining, transportation, things that influence student success, and are those activities, are those services we provide truly student-centered? And I think, if you go all the way back to, I think we've heard this from President Keel numerous times, right? We have 2 number 1 priorities, our students and our patients. So in all that we do as a university, are our students truly our number 1 priority? So moving on now to our third and final distinguishing objective for student success, personalized student connections. Personalized student connections. At Augusta University, each student matters. To honor our students' distinct experiences and the unique ambitions that led them to our campuses, we will create a distinctive student experience that fosters belonging and engagement with Augusta University and the greater Augusta area, that integrates personalized student connections and unique experiential learning opportunities. This also includes supporting the entire student, their mental health, their well-being, not just their academics, and also about us being distinctive, again, like no other. You also notice that the linkage there to our community. And so again, my colleague, Dr. Keel, will be talking in a moment how we can do a better job in our next strategic plan of our community engagement. So at this point, I'll open us up for, again, comments or questions.
Given that we are the state's university, and the people who support us are the citizens of the state, is there a place that have not seen all of this yet, where we have interwoven into this process the connection between what we're doing and these activities and their implications on the health, welfare, and the status of the community that we are supposed to serve, which are the citizens of the state of Georgia and the region.
Right. Excellent. So, yeah, what impact ultimately are having on our state? Certainly, health is one of those, but could be business, could be education, any of the areas. Yeah. Are we really training Georgia's future leaders or not?
Hello. It's nice to see this belonging concept appear actually in two objectives, with the student success and also with learning. And really the main point is I'm glad to see it, and it certainly works well with the interwoven priorities, but just caution in being very intentional about what that differentiation looks like once you drill down into the actual work that's involved with that. I would just hate to see that by seeing it in two places, it actually dilutes its effectiveness.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
I actually have two comments. One, what is meant by life-saving? That was in the second objective. And then before you switch, we have satellite campuses. How do we include them in that statement when it talks about just the greater Augusta area? So we might need to kind of rethink and look at that just a little too.
Excellent. That's true, right? So we have campuses across the state. Yeah, very, very good. Okay. Got one more here, and then we'll take a few comments online.
I was wondering if it would be worthwhile to include alumni organizations in here to indicate a more lifelong belonging for the students.
That's right. So certainly we provide continuing education, right, for a number of different disciplines. Yeah. Okay. Aubrey?
Some great questions coming in and comments. When we talk about the student environment, how will this objective translate to the virtual and online environment, especially with AU Online? Dr. Hobbs got kudos for his comment. So you have some folks who agree with you, Dr. Hobbs. Folks really like the wording behind personalized student connections. That seems to resonate really well. But to what extent are we balancing personalized student connections with face-to-face programs and fully online programs? In that same vein, personalized student connections could perhaps be leveraged to recruit our graduates to work and pursue graduate training with us here at AU. And could we consider including language along the lines of supporting students from all backgrounds and life stages? And should we say all students, but usually the focus is on top students or those who already belong? How do we ensure students who struggle academically, emotionally, or socially will be noticed? And lastly, a vision of growing student enrollment drastically and at the same time giving a large student body a personalized treatment seems a bit paradoxical. This is a major challenge faced by most large universities who are unable to deliver personalized treatment to their students.
Right. Fantastic. Those are great comments, and it's nice to receive a shout out for Dr. Hobbs as well. So. Okay, so we'll do a last call for comments, questions about Discovery student success, before I turn it over to Dr. Keen?
One final, it's important for us to be mindful of incoming individuals who are neurodiverse or disabled who may need the accommodations. And so that includes assessing our physical environment to accommodate that.
All right. Well, with that, I'm going to turn over to Russell. Thank you.
All right. I just want to say before we get started, I'm really grateful for all the input today, but also the input of numerous other people that were mentioned earlier to make this happen. We really appreciate this and I'm excited about our future. I have the opportunity to talk about community. When we talk about community, that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And when we look at community engagement and getting that Carnegie classification, I think we need to look at it in a way, not just one way, but two ways. And there are a lot of opportunities we have now, but certainly when I read this and for your comments, please be thinking about what we might be missing. Strategic priority in communities. At Augusta University, we strive to foster community on our campus and far beyond. Cultivating a new town gown dynamic that explodes expectations, fuels both university and community growth, and generates reciprocity, respect, trust, opportunity, and authentic goodwill across our campuses, our city, our region, and our state. The first distinguishing objective is a campus experience like no other. Since 1828, Augusta University has been improving the quality of life and well-being for the citizens of Greater Augusta community. Members of the community engage with our students, our faculty, and staff in our healthcare settings, at theatrical performances, art exhibits, and athletic events, and in recreational areas such as the History Walk on Somerville campus. Achieving our aspirations is only possible through active engagement with partners who see us as an extension of the community. We are committed to inspiring collaborative community partnerships by highlighting the AU story and opening the doors to our campuses. The second objective, the Jaguar Town Dynamic. As one of the region's largest employers and its only comprehensive research university, Augusta University's success and growth are undeniably tied to the success and growth of the greater Augusta region. Just as we want members of the local community to enjoy a welcoming experience on our campuses, we also recognize that the engagement and well-being of our students, faculty, and staff can be enriched by the greater community environment. We will create a culture of excitement and belonging for Augusta University that fuels community connections and collaboration to mutually benefit the university and the local community. The third objective, educator and partner of choice. With education, research, and outreach provided by our students, our faculty, and staff throughout the state, Georgia is truly our campus. And now, with emerging presence throughout the southeastern region and abroad, AU's impact is poised to become more global than ever. Through strategic and mission-centered collaboration with local, national, and international healthcare, cyber, and educational partners, Augusta University will become the educational leader and partner of choice for innovative community collaborations that advance the institution, the partnering organization, and the communities we serve. So, what are your comments there? What might we be missing? What do you like? Any kind of constructive feedback? Thank you.
I was wondering if it would be worthwhile to include somewhere businesses, because community is not necessarily the same as businesses. So business context for the university statewide could be important too.
Sure. Thank you. That's great feedback.
I've got one, Dr. Keen.
Okay.
How will student life change to make a campus experience like no other? Currently, buildings close at 8 p.m. and food establishments don't open until 10:30 a.m. and close again at 3 p.m. All of these things discourage students from staying on campus.
Thank you for that comment. Any other thoughts or ideas or suggestions that we need to take into account as we prepare for the final?
And folks love the concept that Georgia is our campus.
Awesome. I do too.
One final comment. Thank you for including staff. Staff often feel neglected when the focus is on faculty and students. I didn't say that.
No, hey, if someone feels that way, it's real. We appreciate that comment. I think Dr. McKinnon's much better about awkward silence than I am. Appreciate any feedback that you might have.
We've got another one.
Okay.
How do we take into account or acknowledge the historical context of AU's relationship with the community?
Thank you for that. All right. Going once. Please, if you think about this and have some additional comments, this is something that we all need to be a part of. You got to see yourself in this priority and the objectives. And if you don't, then we're missing something, and we'd appreciate your feedback. So move on. The next strategic priority is stewardship. Augusta University is determined to build a culture of greater philanthropy and financial sustainability. More importantly, we're dedicated to building authentic relationships with alumni from all eras, benefactors from across the city, the state, and the region, and career contributors who are working, building, and giving right here on our campus. The distinguishing objectives: philanthropic investment of choice. As a worthy philanthropic priority that changes and saves lives, Augusta University will secure new and transformative giving by an enhanced focus on national and Atlanta-based benefactors, and by nurturing our valued existing relationships. We are committed to powerful pipeline programs designed to increase future philanthropy and advance our learning, student success, discovery, and community priorities. The next objective: cultural of fiscal wellness. Augusta University is committed to building a culture of fiscal wellness, stability, and accountability. We recognize that measured and strategic stewardship of our financial resources necessitates investment in our programs, our people, and infrastructure. We will engage members of the university community to foster a culture of shared governance and sense of accountability for fiscal stewardship at all levels of the university. The third distinguished objective: people conscious. Realizing our aspiration depends on a strong core of faculty and staff, it begins with recruitment and retention efforts to expand our pool of top, diverse talent, and is sustained through intentional efforts to develop and promote employees. We will implement strategies and align investments to offer competitive compensation and leadership and professional development to support career advancement. And Aubrey, this goes to the last comment on the previous priority, that our staff are very important to us, and we could not do anything with our students or our patients without them. So I'll open it up now for questions or feedback, comments, suggestions, things we might need to look at.
So I have one comment. Although it was disappointing that was its own objective, at least I'm appreciative that shared governance made its way into the culture of fiscal wellness objective, because it's the stated dedication of the university as a whole in this very sustainable and best practice way of running the institution. So thank you for that. Although, again, I would have liked to seen it as a separate objective.
Thank you for that comment.
We have a question. Does a culture of fiscal wellness extend to an effort to reduce our carbon footprint and environmental impact? Even with current budget constraints, we must invest more in positions and resources for advancement in government affairs. And again, someone else reiterated the concept, does environmental stewardship align with this? And then lastly, why the specific focus on Atlanta-based benefactors? Does this mean that we dismiss the rest of Georgia?
Great comments. Thank you. I think I know how my third grade teacher felt when nobody would answer a question. Everybody looks down. I don't put anybody on the spot, but any other comments? Those are all great things for us to think about.
Another online about transparency regarding what philanthropic projects are underway and prioritized. Many faculty and staff are not aware of these efforts.
Okay, thank you for that. All right. Well, I think that's it. Thank you all for your participation. Appreciate it.
Thank you all so much. That was really great to listen to. There's some really great questions that need to be considered and great feedback. Some that can, it's very clear how they can be incorporated, and others we're definitely going to work. We're going to work to incorporate as much as we possibly can. So again, thank you to Dr. Keene and Dr. McKinnon and Dr. Keel today. More importantly, thank you to all of you. We know that, being part of an academic environment means that we've got folks who probably need to process and analyze, and we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to do that. So as we shared earlier, there will be an extended version of this PowerPoint that includes those strategic actions. So it goes a little bit further into the how are we going to do all of this. And that will be posted online after this town hall, and you can actually access it. This is sticking to the podium through that QR code that's on your flyer. Or you can just go directly to augusta.edu/planning and make your way from there. If you go to the planning link, that also will give you an opportunity to learn more about the process if you would like to know more about how we got here and who has been involved. And most importantly, that is actually where we'll have that access to the form so that you can continue to provide comments. We're going to keep that open through next Thursday. And the reason we're saying next Thursday is because the core team has a long working meeting planned for Friday to really take in all of the comments that we've gotten and to finalize this plan for presentation to the President's Executive Cabinet very, very soon so that we can get on our way. So that is it for the show today. We will ask you to keep an eye out for an announcement soon about a launch event that will include lunch. That'll be the best part, I'm sure. The second best part, the strategic plan will be the best part. The lunch will be the second best part, sometime later in April. So thanks so much, and y'all drive safe out there. Bye. Is it really?